Lucas had always believed in second chances, the kind that Seattle's endless drizzle seemed to promise with every gray morning. At 28, he was a rising voice in the city's indie music scene, his folk-infused tracks about lost boys and reclaimed hearts drawing crowds to dimly lit venues in Capitol Hill. His album Echoes in the Fog had gone semi-viral on streaming playlists, earning him interviews on local podcasts and a modest following that saw him as the authentic everyman, strumming his guitar under strings of Edison bulbs while pouring out lyrics that felt like confessions. But authenticity was a fragile thing in a town where tech bros and baristas coexisted in uneasy truce, and Lucas's past had a way of bubbling up like coffee grounds in a French press. It started 6 months earlier, at a fundraiser for the Northwest Queer Youth Center in a converted warehouse loft overlooking Elliott Bay. Lucas was performing a stripped-down set, his voice raw over acoustic chords, when Ethan Hale crossed the room like he owned the shadows. Ethan was 32, heir to a software empire his father had built on the bones of dot-com dreams, the kind of man who wore tailored wool coats over crisp white shirts and made venture capitalists sweat with a single arched brow. His dark hair was impeccably styled, green eyes sharp as the Space Needle's tip, and his reputation preceded him, ruthless in boardrooms, generous in headlines, but whispered about in backrooms as the guy who'd crushed rivals without a flicker of remorse. Their eyes met mid-song, Lucas's fingers faltering on the fretboard just enough to miss a note. Ethan didn't applaud with the crowd, he waited until the set ended, then approached with a glass of Pinot Noir in hand, offering it like a truce. That last track, Ethan said, voice low and smooth as the harbor fog, it felt personal. Like you were bleeding on stage. Lucas laughed it off, heat rising in his cheeks, but Ethan's gaze held him, dissecting, devouring. They talked for hours, about the ache of growing up gay in a state where rainbows were literal but acceptance came in fits and starts, about Ethan's own closeted college years at Stanford, the hookups in frat house basements that left him hollow. By night's end, Ethan had Lucas's number, and Lucas had a spark he hadn't felt since his ex, Riley, bailed for a safer life in Portland. The courtship was a whirlwind, the kind that felt scripted for a Netflix rom-com, dinners at Carnley's with views of the Olympics glowing purple at dusk, walks along the waterfront where ferry horns mourned the distance between them. Ethan was attentive, almost too much, sending texts at 2 a.m. with song links that mirrored Lucas's moods, surprising him with tickets to a private Sif Jan Stevens show. Lucas, still nursing the bruise from Riley's ghosting, let himself fall. He ignored the red flags, Ethan's clipped tone when Lucas mentioned his volunteer work at the youth center, the way Ethan's jaw tightened at stories of Lucas's reckless early 20s, when he'd been arrested at a protest against conversion therapy camps. Youthful fire, Lucas called it, Ethan called it naivety that bites back. The proposal came on a rare sunny afternoon in Discovery Park, Ethan dropping to one knee amid wild salal berries, ring glinting like a promise. Marry me, Lucas. Let's build something real in this city of ghosts. Lucas said yes, tears blurring the evergreens, convinced this was his shot at the messy, beautiful normalcy he'd craved since coming out at 17 in a Tacoma suburb where football fields outnumbered pride flags. But whispers started before the invitations went out. Lucas's manager at the coffee shop where he pulled shifts between gigs pulled him aside one morning, steam rising from the espresso machine like unspoken warnings. Heard some talk about Hale. Guy's got a grudge mill running 24/7. You sure about this? Lucas brushed it off, chalking it up to industry jealousy. Ethan's family was old money intertwined with Seattle's tech elite, of course there'd be noise. The wedding day arrived under a sky heavy with threat, the chapel in Fremont chosen for its quirky murals of gnomes and sea monsters, neutral ground for two men whose worlds collided like tides. Lucas stood at the altar in a charcoal suit that hugged his lean frame, heart pounding as Ethan's best man, a slick lawyer named Marcus, shot him a pitying glance. The officiant, a drag queen named Magnolia with sequins that caught the dim light like fallen stars, bound their hands with a silk cord dyed in rainbow hues. Vows exchanged, Ethan smooth, Lucas's trembling with hope. Then that whisper, as the cord fell away and applause swelled. Lucas froze, the ring cold against his skin, searching Ethan's face for the lie beneath the smile. But Ethan pulled him close for the kiss, firm, possessive, tasting of mint and malice, and the world spun on, oblivious. Reception blurred into toasts and cake, the waterfront hotel ballroom strung with fairy lights that danced on champagne flutes. Lucas's bandmates clapped him on the back, his sister Elena from Spokane hugged him tight, whispering, "He's intense, but you light up around him." Ethan worked the room like a conductor, charming donors and deflecting questions about a prenup with jokes about trust over legalese. By midnight, they slipped away to Ethan's penthouse in Belltown, the elevator ride silent save for the hum of ascent. The door clicked shut, and Ethan shed his jacket, revealing the taut lines of his shoulders under silk. "Welcome home, husband." The word hung, laced with something Lucas couldn't name. He poured scotch from a crystal decanter, handing Lucas a glass with a clink that echoed too loud. "To ruining everything you thought you knew." Lucas's stomach dropped. "What did you say?" Ethan leaned against the floor-to-ceiling windows, city lights fracturing across his features like cracks in ice. Rain streaked the glass, mirroring the storm building in Lucas's chest. "You heard me. This marriage? It's my gift to you, or a front-row seat to your own unraveling. Your precious reputation, that indie darling glow? I'll dim it, one scandal at a time. For what you did to my brother." The glass slipped from Lucas's fingers, shattering on the hardwood like his illusions. Brother? Ethan had never mentioned siblings, only a distant family dynasty. Flashes hit, a college party years ago, a drunken hookup with a guy named Theo Hale, Ethan's younger brother, the golden boy who'd spiraled after, blaming Lucas for leading him on before ghosting. Theo had overdosed 6 months later, pills washed down with regret, and the Hale family had buried the story deep. But Ethan? He'd nursed the grudge in shadows, watching Lucas rise while his brother's grave grew weeds. "You think this fixes anything?" Lucas's voice cracked, backing toward the door. "Marrying me to destroy me? That's not justice, it's madness." Ethan's laugh was bitter, eyes gleaming with unshed rage. "Justice? You stole his light, Lucas. Now I'll eclipse yours. Smile for the cameras tomorrow, our honeymoon photos will be gold." Lucas fled to the guest room, door locking with a finality that mirrored the rain's relentless patter. He sank onto the bed, suit rumpled, pulling out his phone to text Elena, "Married a monster. Help." But he deleted it, staring at the ring instead, a platinum band etched with waves, mocking the Puget Sound's deceptive calm. Sleep evaded him, mind replaying Ethan's touch at the altar, tender, almost real. Was it all performance? Or had the blade been sharpened on something deeper, a twisted affection born of loss? Dawn crept in grey, coffee brewing in the kitchen like nothing had shattered. Ethan was at the island, scrolling emails, looking every bit the polished mogul. "Black, 2 sugars," he asked, as if last night was a dream. Lucas nodded numbly, sipping the bitterness, wondering how long he could play this game before it consumed him. The city awoke below, ferries cutting through mist, oblivious to the war in the penthouse heights. Lucas's phone buzzed, a playlist from Ethan, titled Our Soundtrack. First track, The Night We Met by Lord Huron. Haunting, hopeful. A taunt? Or a crack in the armor? By noon, they were en route to the San Juans for the honeymoon, Ethan's driver navigating slick roads while Lucas stared out at evergreens blurring past. Silence stretched, thick as fog. Then Ethan spoke, voice soft, "I didn't plan on you being this." He gestured vaguely, eyes on the wheel ahead. Lucas turned, catching the flicker, "Regret?" "No, too soon." "Being what?" "A mark?" "Human." Ethan met his gaze, green eyes stormy. "Theo worshipped you, you know. Your music, your fire. When he fell, I swore I'd make you pay. But seeing you up close, it's not clean-cut." Lucas's laugh was hollow. "Save the therapist speak. You want my ruin? Earn it." He plugged in headphones, drowning in his own tracks, but Ethan's words lingered like smoke. The ferry docked at Friday Harbor, salt air sharp, and as they checked into the waterfront inn, clifftop views of AUKUS breaching, Lucas vowed to fight. Not with fists, but with the truth he'd always wielded, his voice, his story. Little did he know, Ethan's grip was already slipping, fingers brushing Lucas's in the doorway like an anchor in the tide. The first leak hit like a rogue wave, cresting just as they unpacked in the inn suite, where lavender-scented linens clashed with the brine of low tide. Lucas's phone lit up with notifications, texts from his manager, voicemails from Elena, a flood of alerts from his socials. "What the hell, Luke?" his bandmate Jax typed, linking an article from The Stranger. Indie heartthrob Lucas Reed weds tech heir amid whispers of past scandals. The byline was anonymous, but the digs were surgical, allusions to that long-ago arrest, twisted into reckless endangerment of a vulnerable peer, with a veiled nod to Theo Hale's death. No names, but the implication hung like chum in shark-infested waters. Lucas hurled his duffel at the wall, zipper teeth gnashing against shiplap. "You son of a bitch." He stormed into the living room, where Ethan lounged on the deck in linen slacks and an untucked chambray shirt, nursing a bourbon neat as if the archipelago's serenity was his birthright. AUKUS arced in the distance, black and white sentinels mocking the farce. Ethan didn't flinch, just raised his glass in mock toast. "Efficient, isn't it? Your fans will eat it up, drama sells streams." His tone was casual, but his knuckles whitened around the crystal, betraying the effort it took to feign detachment. Lucas snatched the glass, scotch sloshing over the rim like spilled secrets. "This is my life, Ethan. Not your vendetta canvas." Up close, Ethan's cologne, cedar and sea salt, mixed with the alcohol, stirring something treacherous in Lucas's gut. Memory of the wedding kiss, unbidden, Ethan's hand at his nape, thumb tracing his pulse, a moment too lingering for hate. "Life? You had one, golden boy. Theo didn't." Ethan's voice dipped, raw edge surfacing like a barnacle on smooth hull. He stood, reclaiming the glass with a brush of fingers that lingered. "Blame me all you want, but you danced into this. That night at the fundraiser, you looked at me like I was salvation." "You were." Lucas's admission slipped out, bitter as tidepool foam. He stepped back, heart hammering against ribs like a trapped drumbeat. "Or I wanted you to be. Stupid, hopeful me." Ethan's laugh was low, almost self-deprecating. "Hope's a drug, Lucas. Kicks harder than any boardroom win." He turned to the railing, wind tousling his hair, city polish fraying in the island wild. For a heartbeat, vulnerability cracked through, shoulders slumping, gaze lost on the straight. Then it sealed, and he pivoted, all business. "We've got a photo shoot in an hour. Local stringer for Seattle magazine. Smile like you mean it." The session dragged under a canopy of madrona trees, photographer barking poses while Ethan draped an arm around Lucas's waist, possessive as kudzu. Lucas complied, jaw set, hazel eyes smoldering for the lens, defiance his only armor. Click after click, Ethan's touch shifted, from stiff to subtle pressure, thumb circling Lucas's hip bone through denim. Accidental? Or the first thread unraveling? Dinner that night was at a harborside bistro, candle flames dancing on oyster shells and heirloom tomato salads. Tourists chattered about whale watches. Ethan ordered Dungeness crab with the authority of a man who'd summered here since diapers. Conversation skirted the minefield, favorite trails on the island, the best IPA at the local brewery, until the wine loosened tongues. "Tell me about him," Lucas said suddenly, fork piercing a scallop like it owed him answers. "Theo. Not the ghost you weaponize, the real one." Ethan's fork paused mid-air, green eyes narrowing over the rim of his glass. "Why?" "So you can rewrite history. So I can understand why you chain yourself to me for revenge." Lucas leaned in, voice a whisper against the clink of cutlery. "We're here, Ethan. Might as well bleed a little truth." Ethan exhaled, long and slow, setting down his utensils with deliberate care. He was light. Blonde curls, laugh that echoed like bells. "Followed you online after that protest gig in Olympia. Your arrest made headlines in the queer rags. Said you were a hero, fighting shadows he couldn't name." A pause, Ethan's fingers tracing the stem of his glass. "Came out to us that summer, all fire and fear. Then you. One night, he drove to your show in Tacoma, snuck backstage. Woke up the next morning with your number burning a hole in his phone, and nothing else. You ghosted him, Lucas. Called it a mistake. Lucas's blood iced. Flashes, a blurry after-party, too much cheap whiskey, a pretty boy with hail-sharp features pressing close. I was 22. Scared shitless of anything that smelled like complication. But ghosting? That's not, memory clarified, a text sent, unread. Theo's number blocked in a panic after a family call about entanglements with the wrong crowd. I tried, Lucas pressed, voice fracturing. Called back twice. He never answered. Ethan's gaze bored in, skeptical. Convenient. He spiraled after parties, pills, dropping out of UW. Last thing he said before the OD, Lucas was supposed to save me. The words landed like lead, sinking Lucas into silence. Dessert arrived, lavender panna cotta, ethereal as regret, and they ate in the weight of it, the sea's murmur underscoring the unsaid. Back at the inn, tension crackled like driftwood in a bonfire. Ethan poured nightcaps on the deck, stars pricking the velvet sky. Truce for tonight, he offered, handing Lucas a tumbler. Their fingers brushed again, electricity sparking. Lucas accepted, sipping the peaty warmth, watching Ethan's profile etched in moonlight, strong nose, faint stubble shadowing his jaw. Why this way? Lucas asked, voice soft. You could have sued, smeared me online. Why the ring? Ethan stared at the horizon, where ferries ghosted like memories. Because ruining you up close. It hurts me more. Proves I'm alive. He turned, eyes locking on Lucas's, green depth swirling with storm clouds. For a suspended breath, the air thickened, charged. Ethan's hand rose, hesitating at Lucas's cheek, thumb ghosting the bone, a touch too tender for tormentors. Lucas didn't pull away. Couldn't. The pull was magnetic, hate and hunger twisting like kelp in current. You're a bastard, he breathed, but leaned in, lips parting on instinct. The kiss ignited slow, Ethan's mouth claiming with a hunger that belied the cruelty, a press of lips, then tongue, tasting of scotch and saltwater tears. Hands roamed, Ethan's fisting Lucas's shirt, pulling him flush, Lucas's threading into dark hair, tugging with equal ferocity. They stumbled inside, shedding layers on the threshold, jacket pooling, shirt buttons popping like confessions. Against the wall, Ethan's body pinned him, hard lines yielding to heat, breaths mingling in gasps. You're mine to break, Ethan growled against his neck, teeth grazing collarbone, but his hands trembled, cradling rather than crushing. Lucas arched, nails raking Ethan's back. Then break me. It was defiance, desire, a surrender to the chaos. They tumbled to the rug, bodies entwining in the firelight's glow, exploring with urgent maps, Ethan's lips charting Lucas's chest, thumbs circling nipples to peaks, Lucas's mouth on Ethan's throat, sucking marks like brands. Rhythm built, slick and savage, fingers probing, gasps echoing off beams, until release crashed, waves sinking in shuddering unity. After, tangled in sheets damp with sweat, Ethan held him close, arm banded across Lucas's waist like a lifeline. No words, just the rise-fall of chests, the distant call of loons. Lucas traced the veins on Ethan's forearm, pulse steady under skin, wondering if this was the ruin or the redemption. Sleep claimed them, limbs lax, but dawn brought clarity's cold edge, passion wasn't absolution. The next leak dropped at breakfast, a podcast episode dissecting Lucas Reed's dark side, hosted by an Ethan's-funded podcaster. Lucas listened in the shower, water scalding, lyrics forming unbidden, you wed me in shadows, now hold me in light, afraid of the fall, or the fight. He emerged resolved, toweling off to find Ethan on the deck, coffee in hand, expression unreadable. Round 2. Lucas said, voice steady, pulling on jeans with deliberate slowness. Ethan's eyes darkened, tracking the slide of denim. Always. But as they boarded the ferry home, his hand found Lucas's in the crowd, squeezing, not possessive, but pleading. Seattle loomed, skyline a jagged promise, and Lucas wondered how deep the water ran before they both drowned. Back in the penthouse, the city pulsed with indifferent rhythm, horns blaring on First Avenue, baristas calling orders at the corner Victrola, but inside, the air hung heavy with the residue of island nights. Lucas woke alone in the king bed, sheets cool where Ethan's heat had been, a note on the pillow, meeting till 3. Order in. E. No hearts, no apologies, just the stark efficiency of a man compartmentalizing chaos. Lucas traced the ink, Ethan's precise script a window to the control freak beneath the lover's skin. He padded to the kitchen, bare feet silent on slate, brewing pour-over from beans Ethan sourced from a micro-roaster in Ballard. The first sip grounded him, bitter notes mirroring the tangle in his chest, loathing laced with longing, the memory of Ethan's body arching under his like a melody half-remembered. His phone buzzed, Jack's voice crackling over speaker, "Dude, that pod? Brutal. Fans are splitting, half calling you a phoenix, half torches. What's the play?" Lucas leaned against the counter, gaze on the soundware container ships lumbered like weary giants. Play? I'm married to the arsonist, Jax. Gig at the tractor tonight, tell the crowd it's raw material. Jax chuckled, low and loyal. That's my boy. Bring the fire. And hey, if Hale's lighting matches, douse him with that charm of yours. The call ended, leaving Lucas to the quiet. He fired up his laptop, fingers flying over keys to a new track, Vows in the Rain, verses weaving wedding whispers with betrayal's sting. By noon, delivery arrived, sushi rolls from a Pike Place spot, artfully arranged with wasabi roses, and Lucas ate alone at the island, scrolling Ethan's socials. Curated perfection, boardroom selfies, charity galas, a honeymoon throwback with Lucas cropped in, smile edited brighter. Beneath, comments bloomed, congrats laced with shade, power couple or PR stunt. 3 o'clock sharp, the door clicked, Ethan entering with the scent of rain and resolve, umbrella dripping in the foyer. Productive morning, he asked, loosening his tie, green eye scanning Lucas like code for errors. Wrote a song about you. Lucas didn't look up, popping a nidgery, letting the words land. Ethan paused, jacket halfway off, vulnerability flickering before shutters dropped. Villain or victim? Both. Keeps it honest. Lucas met his gaze then, challenge sparking. Your leaks are gaining traction. My streams are up 20%, a misery's marketable. Ethan's lips twitched, not quite a smile. Told you. Ruin with a soundtrack. He crossed to the fridge, pulling a beer, condensation beading like sweat. Dinner with my parents tonight. Queen and Hilltop. Wear the grey cashmere, I had it sent. Lucas's fork stilled. Meeting the Hales? Bold, considering your brother's the elephant in the room. Ethan cracked the bottle, foam hissing. They know the score. Mother adores a redemption arc, father's just glad I'm settling. Air quotes dripped disdain. He stepped closer, heat radiating, and brushed a thumb over Lucas's jaw, tender, testing. Play along. For the optics. The touch lingered, pulling Lucas under again, pulse quickening at the proximity. Optics or obsession, he murmured, leaning in despite himself. Ethan's breath hitched, hand cupping his neck. Dangerous question. The kiss was inevitable, slow burn igniting, lips parting, tongues tangling with the familiarity of addicts. Ethan lifted him onto the counter effortlessly, Lucas's legs rapping instinctively, heels digging into slacks. Hands explored, Ethan's undershirt, palms splaying over ribs, Lucas's in hair, tugging to expose throat for bites that drew groans. They broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed. We can't keep, Lucas started, but Ethan silenced him with a finger to lips. Tonight, Ethan said, voice rough. Then we talk. The Hale estate perched on Queen and like a crown of evergreens and glass, view swallowing the skyline in one greedy gulp. Valet took the Audi, doorman nodded to Ethan like old comrades. Inside, crystal chandeliers dripped light on Persian rugs, air scented with rosemary from the kitchen. Victoria Hale greeted them in pearls and a sheath dress, air-kissing Ethan's cheeks before turning to Lucas with a smile sharp as her bob. Darling, you're even more striking in person. Ethan's photos don't do justice. Flattery's her love language, Ethan quipped, hand at Lucas's low back, guiding, grounding. Richard Hale emerged from the study, silver temples framing a face carved from boardroom granite, handshake firm. Welcome to the family, son. Heard your album, Raw Stuff. Reminds me of Springsteen in the Rust Belt days. Dinner unfolded in the conservatory, orchids nodding under stars visible through the dome. Conversation danced, Victoria on gala circuits, Richard on AI ethics, irony lost on no one. Lucas shared youth center stories, voice steady, earning Victoria's coup, so philanthropic. Ethan's always been the shark, needs your soul to balance. Ethan's foot nudged Lucas's under the table, a secret Morse. Wine flowed, Cabernet from the family vineyard in Walla Walla, and plates cleared to tiramisu, when Victoria leaned in, eyes on Lucas. Theo would have adored you. He had your fire, before the shadows. The table stilled, silver clinking to halt. Richard cleared his throat, Ethan tensed, fork gripped white-knuckled. Lucas swallowed, meeting her gaze. I'm sorry for his loss. Truly. I wish I'd known him better. Victoria's smile wobbled, hand patting his. We all do, dear. Ethan. He's carried it heaviest. She glanced at her son, affection laced with ache. Post-dinner, Richards retreated to cigars, Victoria pulled Lucas to the library, shelves groaning with leather bounds. He's not cruel by nature, she confided, pouring ports. Theo's death. It armored him. But I've seen him soften. Guard your heart, but don't run. Lucas nodded, port warming his veins. Too late for that. Ethan found him there, leaning in the doorway, expression stormy. Mothering you already? Warning me off her baby boy. Lucas set down the glass, stepping close. She's right. This armor's cracking. In the car home, silence thrummed, Ethan's hands white on the wheel. Rain lashed the windshield, wipers slashing like accusations. She shouldn't have brought him up. But she did. And so did you, on the island. Lucas turned, profile lit by passing street lamps. Tell me the whole truth, Ethan. Or this, us, it's just foreplay to fall out. Ethan pulled into an overlook, engine idling, city sprawled below like a glittering wound. He killed the lights, darkness swallowing them. Truth? I hated you for years. Scoured your feeds, your gigs, plotting. Then that night. You sang Fractured Light, eyes closing like prayer. Hit too close. I wanted to hate fuck the ghost out of you, but it turned into this. He turned, cupping Lucas's face, thumbs stroking cheekbones. I leaked to push you away. But every time you fight back, kiss back, I drown deeper. The confession hung, raw, and Lucas surged forward, claiming his mouth in a kiss that tasted of port and peril, fierce, forgiving. They drove home tangled in glances, penthouse door barely shut before clothes hit floor. In the bedroom, moonlight silvered skin, Ethan's body over Lucas's, slow thrusts building like crescendo, whispers of names amid moans. Stay, Ethan breathed post-climax, holding tight, as if Lucas might dissolve. But dawn brought the third leak, pap shots from the island, cropped to suggest a lover's quarrel, captioned trouble in paradise. Lucas's manager called mid-shower, cancelling the tractor gig. Sponsors pulling. Rage boiled as he toweled off, confronting Ethan in the kitchen, coffee steaming, face impassive. You promised talk. This is sabotage. Ethan's eyes flashed. Necessary. Can't have you shining while you what? Fall. Lucas grabbed his wrist, pulse racing under thumb. I'm not your villain, Ethan. Or your savior. The argument escalated, voices echoing off glass, accusations flying, Theo's shadow, Lucas's carelessness, Ethan's isolation. A vase shattered, lilies scattering like accusations. Lucas stormed out, jacket snatched, pounding pavement to a Capitol Hill dive bar where Jax waited with shots and a guitar. Spill, Jack said, lime wedge squeezed. Lucas did, words tumbling over tequila burn, marriage, malice, the magnetic pull. Jax listened, then slid the guitar over. Write it out. Turn poison to platinum. By last call, verses solidified, Lucas strumming fury into melody. He crashed at Jax's Queen and War Cup, dreams haunted by green eyes pleading. Morning texts from Ethan, come home. Please. Lucas deleted, but saved the next, I miss your voice. Not the songs, the mornings. The gig reinstated that week at Neumos, crowd electric despite the buzz. Lucas poured it out, new track Armor unzipped, lyrics slicing, you wed me to wound, now hold me to heel, afraid of the real, or the reveal. Cheers erupted, phones aloft, but in the wings, a shadow, Ethan, watching, face etched with something perilously close to pride. Backstage, confrontation brewed. You came, Lucas said, sweat damp tea clinging. Couldn't not. Ethan stepped close, hand hovering. That song gutted me. Good. Lucas's voice wavered. Feel it, Ethan. Or let me go. Ethan pulled him into shadows, kiss desperate, teeth clashing, hands clutching like lifelines. Can't let go. Terrifies me. In that crush of bodies and bass echoes, Lucas wondered if ruin could rebirth. But leaks persisted, whispers growing to roars, and the storm gathered force. The scandal crested mid-October, leaves turning crimson on Gas Works Park slopes as if the city itself bled in sympathy. Lucas's inbox overflowed, interview requests from Out magazine framing him as the betrayed bride, cancellation emails from festival bookers citing optics issues, a tearful voicemail from Elena, Mom saw the headlines, flying in tomorrow. We need to talk sense into you. He deleted half, archived the rest, fueling another track scribbled on a napkin at Elliott Bay Book Company, leaked lies, chorus a litany of fractured trusts. Ethan's strategy sharpened, leaks evolving from innuendo to indictment. An insider source fed TechCrunch a timeline, Lucas's pattern of emotional volatility, linking the arrest to Theo's decline with fabricated texts, screenshots doctored to show Lucas dismissing pleas for help. Streams spiked, yes, but so did hate, trolls doxing his coffee shop shifts, graffiti on his Vespa parked outside the youth center, homewrecker hail killer. Lucas confronted Ethan in the penthouse gym at dawn, punching bags swinging from his hooks like a proxy for hearts. Ethan was mid-pull-up, muscles corded under tank, sweat tracing the V of his back. Enough, Lucas snarled, yanking the bar. This isn't revenge, it's eradication. Ethan dropped, breathing hard, wiping brow with forearm. You think I enjoy this? Watching you fracture. Green eyes blazed, but beneath, a tremor, fear, perhaps, of the monster he'd unleashed. Then stop. Lucas stepped into his space, chests heaving in sync. Or admit it's not about Theo anymore. Ethan's hand shot out, gripping Lucas's bicep, bruising, then softening. It's always about him. But you're the complication I can't code out. The admission hung, and Lucas shoved him back, not hard, but enough to spark. Fuck your code. Lucas's voice broke, shoving again, until Ethan caught his wrists, pinning him to the mirrored wall. Reflections multiplied, two men entangled, rage and want blurring lines. The kiss exploded, violent, vital, teeth nipping lips to copper tang, hips grinding with punishing rhythm. Ethan released his wrists to roam, palms pinning shoulders while mouths devoured. Hate me, Ethan growled, hand sliding down to cup through shorts, stroking with expert twist. Makes it easier. Lucas bucked, gasping, I do. But his own hands betrayed, shoving Ethan's tank up to tongue the salt of his abs, tracing the happy trail south. They collapsed to mats, Ethan rolling atop, shedding barriers with frantic zips. Slick with sweat and spit, entry was urgent, Ethan thrusting deep, Lucas's legs locking ankles at his waist, nails carving crescents into shoulders. Climax ripped through like thunder, leaving them wrecked, breaths ragged in the echo. After, Ethan didn't withdraw immediately, forehead to Lucas's, whispering, I'm sorry. For the leaks. For everything. Vulnerability cracked wide, and Lucas held him, fingers combing damp hair, the first fracture in his own armor. But sorry wasn't stop. The next bomb dropped at Elena's intervention dinner, a cozy Fremont spot with exposed brick and craft ales. She arrived windswept from Spokane, hugging Lucas fierce, eyes scanning for bruises. "You look haunted, little brother." "Spill." "Over bison burgers," he did, haltingly, "the marriage's malice, the magnetic nights, Ethan's thawing." Elena listened, fork poised, then, "His poison, Luke. Run. You've rebuilt once, don't let him raise it." Before he could argue, his phone lit, breaking news alert. Hale Ayres' husband linked to fatal overdose, exclusive docs. Attached, forged emails, Lucas confessing an indifference to Theo's cries. The bar spun, ale souring in his throat. Elena snatched the phone, horror etching her face. "This is defamation. Sue his ass." Lucas bolted to the bathroom, retching into porcelain, visions of youth center kids, faces he'd mentored through their own storms, now tainted by association. Back at the table, Elena plotted lawyers, but Lucas's mind raced to Ethan. Betrayal burned, but so did the ache of that post-gym whisper. He stormed the penthouse, finding Ethan on the deck, scotch in hand, city lights mocking below. The emails, Lucas hurled, phone thrust like evidence. "Your handiwork." Ethan didn't deny, just swirled his glass, ice clinking judgment. "Necessary escalation. Your fans love a villain arc, sells out shows." Lucas laughed, manic. "Shows? The center cut my volunteer hours. Kids asking if I'm the bad guy now." He advanced, shoving Ethan's chest. "You wanted ruin? Here's yours, I'm done playing." Ethan caught his hands, pulling close despite the fury. "Done? You think you can walk?" Voice cracked, eyes wild. "I need this, need you, to feel something past the numb. Then feel this." Lucas wrenched free, fist connecting with jaw, not full force, but enough to split skin. Blood welled, Ethan tasting copper, shock widening eyes. The silence stretched, broken only by rain starting anew. Ethan touched his lip, then, astonishingly, smiled, faint and broken. "Finally. Fight me like you mean it." But Lucas backed away, grabbing keys. "I do. Goodbye, Ethan." He fled to Elena's hotel, crashing in the suite with tear-streaked pillow, dreams of green eyes dissolving in fog. Morning brought resolve, lawyer consult, band meeting to rebrand solo. Jax hugged him, Phoenix rising, man. We'll tour the Midwest, escape this drizzle drama. Yet Ethan's texts pierced, hit harder next time. "I deserved it." Then, softer, the center called. Donated anonymously, full funding for a year. "For you." Lucas deleted, but screenshot, heart twisting. Weeks blurred, Lucas sublet a Capitol Hill studio, walls papered in set lists and Polaroids of better days. Gig sold out, leaked lies topping indie charts, fans chanting lyrics like anthems. Elena stayed a week, cooking tamales and plotting comebacks, write the book. Expose the empire. But exposure came unbidden. At a panel on queer media at Seattle Central, a heckler rose, hired, Lucas suspected, shouting, "How's the widow Hale feel about your blood money?" Chaos erupted, mics cutting, security hauling the guy out. Lucas froze unstage, then seized the mic, "I'm no widow. I'm a survivor. And this city's big enough for second acts, if we let it." Applause thundered, but backstage, collapse, hyperventilating in green room, Jax rubbing his back. "He's breaking you, Luke. Block the bastard." That night, vulnerability peaked. Lucas hit a dive in Pioneer Square, shots blurring edges, when Ethan appeared, bruised jaw shadowed, eyes haunted. "Heard about the panel. You were magnificent. Leave." Lucas slurred, but didn't move as Ethan slid onto the stool, ordering club soda. "Can't. Not anymore." Ethan's hand covered his, steady. "The leaks stop." Tonight. I called off the stringers. Lucas yanked away, but the touch lingered. Why now? Because ruining you. It's ruined me. Ethan leaned in, voice threadbare. Theo's ghost, it's you I see now. The one I can't lose. The bar spun, alcohol amplifying ache. Lucas stood, swaying. Take me home. You're home. They tumbled into the penthouse, kiss igniting like dry tinder, desperate, devouring. Clothes shed in hallway, Ethan lifting him against door, legs rapping as thrusts pinned. Forgive me, Ethan gasped, pace frantic, hand stroking Lucas to synced release. Spent on the rug, Ethan held him, whispers weaving please. But dawn brought clarity, Elena's text, lawyer says we have a case. Don't weaken. Lucas slipped free, dressing quiet. This isn't forgiveness. It's fracture. Ethan woke to empty bed, note, leak stop, or I expose everything. Your move. Heart pounding, he stared at the ceiling, realizing the game had flipped, the hunter ensnared. November's chill seeped into bones like doubt, Seattle streets slick with fallen leaves that crunched under Lucas's boots as he navigated from coffee run to studio session. The penthouse truce held, leak silenced, Ethan's touches tentative, almost reverent, but trust was a fractured pain, spiderwebbing with every glance. Lucas moved back in, notionally, crashing in the guest room with guitar propped like sentry, writing sessions stretching into nights where Ethan's shadow hovered in doorways, offering water or silence. The youth center reinstated him, funding flush, and Lucas poured into workshops, song circles for trans teens sketching lyrics on napkins, open mics where shy voices bloomed under Edison glow. You're glowing again, his mentor, an old folkie named Harlan, noted over post-class IPAs at the Pike Brewing. Hail treating you right. Lucas swirled foam, evasive. Learning to swim in his currents. Truth, nights blurred boundaries, Ethan cooking risotto in the kitchen, sleeves rolled, laughing at Lucas's botched knife work, mornings tangled in sheets despite resolutions, Ethan's arm heavy across waist like unspoken vow. But the bruise on Ethan's jaw faded to yellow, a reminder etched deeper than skin. Crisis brewed at Thanksgiving, Elena insisting on neutral ground, her Airbnb in Wallingford, turkey brining in a rented kitchen. Family first, she texted, no excuses. Ethan agreed, tense-jawed, packing pie from a bakery in Magnolia. The meal unfolded civil, Elena's boyfriend, a quiet engineer named Theo, irony biting, carving bird while stories flowed of childhood Thanksgivings in Spokane, Ethan sterile ones with catered spreads and absent parents. Post-feast, dishes sudsing, Elena cornered Lucas in the pantry. He's trying, I see that. But the eyes, yours are still guarded. You deserve unscarred. Lucas dried a plate, steam fogging glasses. Scars make the story. And this one's mine to finish. Ethan overheard, later in the living room, fire crackling in the hearth. Elena and Theo stepped out for pie run, silence swelled. She's right, Ethan said, nursing decaf. I scarred you. Can't unwrite that. Lucas sat beside him, close but not touching. Then rewrite. No more games. Ethan nodded, hand inching to cover Lucas's, warm, tentative. No more. The kiss started soft, sealing promise, but hunger surged, pulling them to the guest room where borrowed bed creaked under weight. Slow this time, Ethan mapping scars with lips, from jaw to hip, Lucas arching into worship, hands cradling head. Entry gentle, gazes locked, climax a shared sigh rather than storm. Elena's return shattered idol, pie slices distributed, laughter resuming, but the seed rooted, possibility, fragile as cranberry relish. Then Betrayal's encore, mid-December, Lucas's solo EP launch at the Crocodile, sold out buzz electric. Backstage, nerves jangling, Jack's hyping, this is your rumors, man, raw, real. Lucas nodded, strumming warm-up, when his phone pinged, anonymous email, subject for your eyes only. Attached, video file, time-stamped last spring, Lucas at that fundraiser, mid-set, eyes locking with Ethan's, but edited, spliced with footage of Theo's memorial, Lucas's face morphed over eulogies, voiceover twisting lyrics to mockery. Horror iced veins. Planted when? By whom? Lucas burst unstage anyway, crowd roaring, pouring fury into vows unraveled. You promised the quiet, delivered the quake, now hold me in pieces, for heaven's sake. Vulnerability peaked in the bridge, voice cracking on, afraid to lose what's already lost, tears streaking under lights. Encore demanded, he obliged with echoes, but midway, spotted him, Ethan in the balcony, face ashen, then vanishing into shadows. Post-show, green room mobbed, fans with Sharpies, Jacks popping corks, but Lucas slipped out, hailing cab to Belltown. Penthouse dark, Ethan on the deck, back to door, scotch bottle half empty. You saw, Lucas accused, slamming file onto teak table. Ethan turned, devastation carving lines. Not me. Swear it. But eyes darted, guilt? Marcus. My fixer. Went rogue, thought he'd help the narrative. Help. Lucas's laugh shattered. By making me Theo's clown? This ends us, Ethan. He stormed inside, packing duffel with mechanical fury, tees, jeans, guitar case. Ethan followed, pleading, wait. I fired him hours ago. Delete the file, it's poison. Too late. Lucas zipped, shoulder checking past. You built this empire on control. Can't control love. At the door, Ethan grabbed his arm, spinning him. Love? Is that what this is? Voice raw, breaking. Because if it is, I'm drowning in it. Losing you, it's Theo all over. Lucas wrenched free, tears hot. Then learned to swim alone. Door slammed, elevator plummeting like free fall. He crashed at Harlan's Fremont bungalow, elder statesman's couch a lifeline. Nights bled into days, EP climbing charts, press calling him the voice of queer resilience, but hollow victories. Elena flew back, bundling him in blankets, force-feeding soup. Cry it out, then conquer. Wept he did, gut-wrenching sobs for the man who'd weaponized want, for the boy he'd failed unknowingly. Harlan prescribed walks, along the locks where salmon leaped, defying currents. One dusk, phone rang, unknown number. Victoria Hale, voice velvet over steel, come for tea. Please. For Ethan. Reluctant, Lucas went, Queen and estate hushed, holiday lights twinkling like false hope. Victoria poured Earl Grey in the sunroom, orchids nodding. He's shattered, dear. Locks himself in the study, poring over your streams like scripture. Theo's death. It wasn't you. It was us, pushing perfection till he cracked. Lucas stirred sugar, granules dissolving slow. Why tell me? Because love isn't ledgered. He needs you to balance, not bolt. She slid an envelope, Theo's letter, unsent, to Lucas. You were a spark in my dark. Don't blame yourself for my fade. Words blurred with tears. Lucas pocketed it, fleeing before resolve crumbled. Christmas Eve, solo in the studio, snow dusting the sound rare and fleeting. Jax dragged him to a queer carol sing-along in Capitol Hill, eggnog flowing, but Lucas's mind wandered to Ethan's texts, daily, unblocked, heard the EP, track 5 gutted me. Merry whatever. Miss your chaos. Heart tugged, but pride held. Crisis peaked New Year's, invite to Ethan's firm gala, black tie at the Museum of Pop Culture. Lucas declined, opting for dive bar countdown with band. Midnight kiss from a stranger, soft, forgettable, left him emptier. Phone buzzed at 12:07, Ethan, slurred voicemail, toasted to ghosts. Yours haunts best. Happy ruins end. Dawn, hungover resolve, time to confront, not capitulate. Lucas drove to Belltown, key still copied, finding Ethan in wreckage, living room bottles, shirt unbuttoned, eyes red-rimmed. You came, Ethan rasped, scrambling up. To end it proper. Lucas dropped the letter on coffee table. Read this. Then let go. Ethan scanned, crumpling, sob escaping, first Lucas had heard. primal. He lunged, clutching Lucas's waist. Can't. You're in my veins. Knees buckled, they sank to floor, Ethan burying face in neck, tears soaking collar. Lucas held, rigid then yielding, hands stroking back. Then heal with me. No more shadows. Kiss born of breakage, salt slick, searching, led to bedroom, bodies reuniting slow, Ethan atop, thrusts measured, gazes anchored. I love you, Ethan confessed mid-rhythm, voice fracturing. Hate turned to this. Forgive? Climax crested gentle, aftershocks binding. Lucas whispered, trying. But as Ethan slept, arm heavy, Lucas slipped free, leaving note, heal yourself first. I'll wait, but not forever. The crisis lingered, fracture deep, but dawn hinted meant Ethan's empire cracking under scrutiny, Marcus's leaks exposed in countersuit. Lucas's star rose, therapy sessions unpacking baggage, walks with Harlan mending spirit. Betrayal's echo faded, replaced by tentative texts, therapy today. Your song helped. Love, Lucas learned, was excavation, digging past ruin to root. Spring unfurled tentative in Seattle, cherry blossoms shedding pink confetti on University District paths as Lucas rebuilt brick by lyric. The countersuit against Marcus gained traction, depositions painting Ethan's fixer as rogue zealot, Hale Enterprises issuing statements of zero tolerance for fabrications. Ethan's public mea culpa, a op-ed in the Seattle Times, Lessons in Loss, How Grief Warped My Judgment, went viral, framing the leaks as personal failing, not corporate malice. Fans forgave, Lucas's streams doubled, youth center expanding with Hale-funded wing named Echo Haven, anonymous not accepted. Privately, the chasm yawned. Lucas kept distance, studio apartment in Fremont a sanctuary of vinyl stacks and half-written scores. Dates flickered, coffee with a sound engineer named Riley, no relation, laughs over falafel in Wallingford, but sparks fizzled, Ethan's ghost lingering in every hazel-eyed glance. Therapy with Dr. Navarro, a no-nonsense Latina with a laugh like maracas, unpacked layers, betrayal's a theft, mijo. Reclaim by choosing joy, not just justice. Ethan's pursuit was patient poetry, flowers delivered weekly, wild asters from the San Juans, no card, just petals pressed with a lyric scrap, in your light, I find my shade. Mixtapes curated, old-school cassettes labeled unleaked truths, tracks from Bon Iver to Arlo Guthrie, notes scrawled, this one's how you make me feel, exposed. Lucas played them alone, nights when rain lulled the city, fingers tracing Ethan's script, heart thawing drop by drop. Elena visited, bearing Spokane pies and skepticism. His wooing like a rom-com villain reformed. But you, glowing solo. Don't rush. I'm not. Lucas stirred tea, steam curling. But absence sharpens. Miss the mess of him. May brought convergence, Lucas's headline at Sasquatch Festival, gorge stage under eastern Washington sun. Ethan appeared uninvited, VIP pass dangling, face leaner, eyes earnest. Post-set, amid crew high-fives, he approached, khakis and faded tee, UN mogul-like. Knocked it dead. He'll hold, that bridge? Slayed me. Lucas wiped sweat, guard up. Stalking now. Supporting. Ethan held out water bottle, cap loose. Can we talk? Off-grid. They hiked Badger Canyon Trail at dusk, wild rye whispering, golden light gilding basalt. Ethan led, words tumbling, therapy confessions, grief groups, Theo's journals read aloud to empty rooms. Blamed you to avoid us. The Hales, perfection's prison. You're the key I didn't know I needed. Lucas kicked pebble, dust rising. Keys unlock, but scars remain. Trusts the lockpick. At Overlook, sunset bleeding orange, Ethan dropped to knees, not proposal, but plea. I'm unpicking. For you. Stay, build with me. Lucas hauled him up, dust-streaked hands clasping. Building takes time. Kiss tentative, tasting of sage and second chances, lips brushing, then deepening, hands framing faces. Not passion's blaze, but embers glow. Back in Seattle, reconciliation crept, dinners at low-key spots like Cafe Flora, vegan curry sparking debates on ethics. Ethan volunteered at Echo Haven, awkward with kids at first, stiff suit swapped for hoodies, then blooming, strumming basic chords under Lucas's guidance. "You're naturals," a teen quipped, eyeing their synced smiles. Intimacy rekindled slow, first night back in penthouse, June solstice moon full over the sound. No rush, baths drawn with eucalyptus, Ethan's fingers massaging shampoo into Lucas's hair, whispers of sorry against scalp. Bedding gentle, sides touching, then spooning, Ethan's chest to back, hand over heart sinking beats. Lovemaking dawnlit, lazy, kisses trailing spines, mouths exploring rediscovered maps, release a sigh shared in sunlight. But healing's hike wasn't linear. July heatwave, a boardroom leak, Ethan's rival twisting old scandals, tested. Lucas found him in study, head in hands, decanter tempting. "Breathe," Lucas said, kneeling, thumbs tracing temples. "We fight together." Ethan leaned in, forehead to knee. "Afraid I'll drag you under again." "Won't. We're anchors now." They rose, moving to couch, bodies aligning, clothes shedding like old skins. Ethan atop, pace measured, eyes locked, "I love you" gasped mid-thrust, Lucas echoing, legs entwining as climax crested, binding tighter. August brought Elena's wedding in Spokane, backyard affair under big sky, tamales and toasts. Ethan stood best man, to Theo's honor, speech halting, "Love's not possession. It's presence." Reception dance, Lucas in his arms under string lights, slow sway to the night we met. Full circle, Lucas murmured, cheek to chest. Full foliage tour, Lucas opening for a folk tour. Ethan tagging Midwest dates, Chicago blues bars, Minneapolis lofts. Offstage, quiet magics, motel rooms with vinyl players, Ethan's head in lap as Lucas sang demos. One Detroit night, after sold out, storm raging, they made love fierce, against window, rain sheeting glass, Ethan lifting leg high, thrust sinking thunder. "Forever." Ethan panted, release shuddering. Learning it, Lucas gasped, holding post-storm. Back home October, crisis echo, anniversary looming, 1 year since chapel lies. Ethan planned surprise, cabin in Cascades, no cell service. Drive up I-90, evergreens arching, they unpacked silences, Theo stories shared, laughs over leaked absurdities. Hearth fire crackled, s'mores sticky, leading to rug tumble, playful, then profound, Ethan on back, Lucas riding slow, hands laced, gazes weaving vows anew. But depth demanded depth, therapy joint sessions with Navarro, unpacking resentments. "Forgiveness isn't erasure," she coached. "It's integration." Ethan wept for Theo unfiltered, Lucas voiced abandonment fears. Progress, Ethan's resignation from Hale board, pivoting to impact investing, queer startups funded, youth orgs bolstered. November rain, walking Myrtle Edwards Park, Ethan stopped under viaduct, pulling box from pocket, not ring, but keychain, intertwined waves etched. To the cabin. Our reset. Lucas accepted, clipping to keys. To us. Kiss under downpour, soaked and smiling. Healing's arc bent toward wholeness, holiday cards co-signed, Ethan's family thawing, Victoria baking cookies, Richard gifting vinyl press of Lucas's EP. New Year's Eve, penthouse party small, Jax, Elena, Harlan, countdown kiss public, Ethan's arms secure. Yet human frailty lingered, a fight over Ethan's late nights, words sharp as winter wind. Lucas stormed to studio, penning Fragile Forge. Ethan followed at dawn, coffee and contrition. Forge stronger, he said, pulling to lap, kiss softening to couch sex, urgent then unhurried, forgiveness in every gasp. By spring's cusp, journey clarified, ruin seed birthed resilience. Lucas's album waves unbroken dropped, dedicating liner notes, to the storm that taught me sail. Ethan beamed at release show, front row, eye shining pride. They stood on deck one eve, city humming below, Ethan's chin on shoulder. Afraid to lose you still, he admitted. Lucas turned, hands cupping face. then hold tighter. Kiss sealed, deep and certain, love's language, fluent now. Summer solstice 2026 dawned golden over Lake Washington, kayaks dotting the water like confetti as Lucas and Ethan loaded the Audi for the Cascades cabin. Anniversary redux, 2 years since whispers turned to waves. Picnic hamper bulged with Willamette Valley cheeses, IPAs chilled, playlist hummed our soundtrack 2.0, Arlo Parks crooning of Mended Hearts. Ethan drove, hand on thigh, casual anchor, while Lucas navigated, map app glitching in signal fade. Cabin nestled in evergreens, porch swing creaking welcome, lake view stretching to snowy peaks. They unpacked lazy, hammock strung, fire pit stacked. Lunch al fresco, baguette torn, brie oozing, led to laughter over old leaks, remember the widow headlines. Thought I'd need a wig. Ethan's chuckle rumbled, fingers feeding strawberry, juice staining lips for licking clean. Afternoon hike to Talus Fields, wildflowers nodding, lupine purple, paintbrush flame. Sweat beaded brows, Ethan shrugged off pack, pulling Lucas behind boulder for shade. Hotter than expected, he murmured, but eyes smoldered, hand tracing collarbone slick. Always with you. Lucas grinned, tugging tea overhead, Ethan's following. Pressed to rock, cool against heated skin, kiss ignited, mouths hungry, hands roaming torsos, thumbs circling nipples to gasps. Denim shoved low, Ethan's palm stroking length firm, Lucas's fingers probing rear with lube from pack, ever prepared. Entry standing, leg hooked hip, rhythm sinking birdsong, thrusts deep, grunts muffled in necks, release spilling hot as sun. Collapse giggling, zipping hasty, they crested ridge to vista, alpine glow, breath stealing. This, Ethan said, arm around waist, is us. Peaks after valleys. Lucas leaned in, temple to temple. Valleys forged it. Evening firefly lit, Esmore's charred perfect, story spun, Ethan Stanford secrets, first crush on roommate, closet's cage, Lucas's Tacoma teen years, mixtapes hidden under mattress. Wine loosened tongues, leading to porch swing sway, bodies aligning, blankets drawn. Love-making tender, Ethan reclined, Lucas straddling, slow rock building waves, hands laced overhead, climaxes synced in starlight size. Dawn mist rose lakeward, coffee perking as they kayak tandem, paddles dipping unison, loon calls echoing. Capsize playful, water shocking cool, hauling each other aboard laughing. Shore picnic, figs and prosciutto, Ethan's head in lap, Lucas combing fingers through damp hair. Dreamed this, Ethan confessed. Post-ruin. You, here, whole. Whole with you. Lucas bent for kiss, soft as fog. Return drive hummed contentment, but city reentry tested, Ethan's investor dinner clashing Lucas's album release party. Compromise, early exit, crashing the bash disheveled. Jack swooped, toasting the Hales, indie royalty now. Dance floor crush, Ethan's hand low back, swaying to Wave's unbroken remix, lyrics their own, held in the hurt, now home in the hold. Fall deepened bonds, joint therapy graduation, Navarro's hug, you've integrated. Celebrate. They did, weekend getaway to Oregon coast, Cannon Beach haystack sentinel. Storm watching in yet, thunder rumbling, they made love primal, Ethan pinning wrists, thrust storm matching, Lucas arching cries into wind-whipped canvas. After, curled fetal, Ethan whispered, marry me. Real this time. Lucas stilled, heart thunderous. Thought we burned that bridge. Built a better one. Box appeared, ring simple, wave-etched platinum, twin to the first but lighter. No vows of ruin. Just us. Tears pricked, Lucas nodded, slipping it on. Yes. For the hold. Wedding planning wove whimsy, small, Fremont Chapel redux, gnomes witnessing anew. Guests intimate, Elena matron, Jack's best, Harlan efficient strumming acoustic. Vows handwritten, Ethan's voice steady, I wed you in shadows once, now in light, I promise presence, through every squall. Lucas's trembling, you held fear as weapon, now hold my hand as home. Kiss sealed under rainbow cord, applause soft as Seattle mist. Reception brewery bash, craft pause, band jamming heel hold. First dance to the night we met, Ethan's cheek to temple, afraid no more. Honeymoon Portland Trail Run, Multnomah Falls Misting, Forest Baths in Tillamook. Cabin nights, rooftop tub under pines, bubbles foaming, Ethan's fingers tracing ring. Sex exploratory, toys from discreet shop, Ethan blindfolded, Lucas directing touches, feathers to flogger's light, gasps building to bound release, trust's tapestry. Back, life-led, Ethan's fund launching Hail Heartstrings, queer artist grants, Lucas headlining youth center series, mentoring Ethan in songwriting, comedic fails, harmony sweet. Fights flickered, over Ethan's travel, Lucas's late nights, but mended quicker, apologies over Thai takeout, makeup slow burn on kitchen floor, forgiveness in every curve. Winter solstice, first married holiday, tree-trimmed collaborative, ornaments hand-painted, Theo's memory a star, not shadow. Elena's brood visited, kids toddling, Ethan uncle adoring. New Year's, rooftop with city fireworks, Ethan's back to chest, 2 years wed, lifetimes more. Spring album collab, tides together, duets blending Ethan's baritone confessions with Lucas's tenor fire. Launch tour, cross-country, stages from Austin to Boston, encores hand in hand. One Nashville night, post-show green room, adrenaline high, Ethan shoving against mirror, belt clinking, Lucas dropping to knees, mouth hot, hands guiding, swallowed deep as applause echoes. Summer circled full, cabin anniversary, kayaks to fireflies. Porch swing, wine warm, Ethan knelt anew, not proposal, but pledge. Afraid once to lose, now grateful to hold. Lucas pulled down, tangling limbs. Hold forever. Lovemaking firelit, missionary deep, legs over shoulders, rhythms eternal, climax cresting like waves unbroken. Years blurred tapestries, adoptions considered, a rescue pup named Echo bounding. Ethan's memoir ruins redemption, co-written, bestseller healing narratives. Lucas's Broadway nod, Echo's musical, Ethan front row nightly, tears proud. Old age crept gentle, silver threading hair, hands veined but laced. Porch swings across homes, Belltown to Bainbridge ferry views. Stories retold, laughs at leaks folly. Final cabin dusk, Ethan fading, Lucas holding, loved you through all. Still do, Ethan breathed, eyes closing peaceful. Grief's tide receded slow, Lucas strumming graveside, lyrics legacy. But human spark endured, remarriage? No, love's echo infinite. Value etched, in ruins, roots, in holds, homes. Forgiveness not endpoint, but ever unfolding path, toward light, hand in hand, forever afraid no more.